Welcome back to another episode on the MLD Balls page. In today's episode, we're going to be going over Zach Lavine mock trades. Zach Lavine is a hot commodity in the NBA trade market right now. He's been a hot commodity for the past year. The Chicago Bulls whole franchise, they finally blowing it up, and this is the guy that everything started with. Zach Lavine is the piece that they moved on from Jimmy Butler for, and they also got Lauri Markkanen in that deal, and they are left with a Zach Lavine who doesn't want to be here anymore. They at the trade deadline they offered the Pistons and them and the Pistons agreed upon a deal. But Zach Lavine, he preferred to go get surgery than play on the team that had the worst losing win streak of all time, or the worst. Yeah, they lost the most games in a row of all time type beat. So he didn't want to go there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna see who wants to add Zach Lavine, and let me know if you're a fan of a team. Would you like Zach Lavine to be on your team, especially if he's not mentioned in this video? Let me know because I found a couple spots that I thought would be great for him. Make sense for both teams. Value wise, I don't know. I'm not a GM, but it's just gonna be my thoughts and how I feel. But yeah, let's dive into the first trade. The first trade is one of my favorite landing spots for Zach Lavine, which I've been wanting for a while. This would be a very cheap deal for the Golden State Warriors. The only really asset they'd be moving on from is Moses Moody. Andrew Wiggins is in a similar boat as Zach Lavine. He is a contract you're trying to dump, and he's not fitting well on the team for whatever reasons outside of the court. The Chicago Bulls, they'll figure that out. And Wiggins is cheaper than Lavine. So, yeah, it's the same amount of years. And he's also maybe looked at as overpaid. But Andrew Wiggins, just with a new situation, he could bounce back. And Lavine, same thing from him. And since Levine's the better player, you'll get Moses Moody, who's a nice young player. And Gary Payton is mainly there for salary reasons. If the Warriors could keep Gary Payton, they would love to because they gave up pick 14 in this year's draft for him for some reason. But hey, not a good GM move from them, but maybe they could come back and make up for their mistake, get Zach Lavine, who will be the second scoring option on this team. I feel like ever since Kevin Durant left the Golden State Warriors, they haven't had a number two scoring option, and it's really been limiting Stephen Curry's ceiling because he is still a tier A player, a tier one player in the NBA, and they have a depth chart that's getting deeper behind him. So if you need to find this guy a number two option, you get, especially like Draymond Green is your second best player, in my opinion. Jonathan Kuminga is really good too, but he's not the perimeter scorer of a Stephen Curry. I should have mentioned that specifically. I think they need a secondary option as a perimeter threat. Jonathan Kuminga, yeah, his usage rate and stuff is going to go up this year, but he's more of a downhill player. So I would like somebody else to create with Steph Curry on the perimeter at an all-star level. And Zach Lavine could be that guy. Feed off of Steph Curry's gravity, feed off of Draymond Green's playmaking, let Kuminga cook. And then the thing about Zach Lavine, his biggest worry is defense and the playoffs. I mean, at that point, you just hope the same thing that happened to Wiggins. Remember, Wiggins had questions as a defender, but as soon as you brought him into the Warriors, he became a outstanding defender, a standout defender, actually. And this team has a lot of defense behind him with Melton, Brandon Podds, Draymond, Kuminga. They got a lot of defense behind them, Kyle Anderson. So I think that their biggest need is scoring more than defense right now. And Zach Lavine will come in and help that out. Another team, we talked about the Pistons already. Does Zach Lavine's mind just change about him? Because if he realizes, like, all right, if the Pistons the only team that wants me, man, we'll just go there. But at the same time, I just realized Evan Fournier is really not there on that team. So I don't really know how that would work. Maybe they give a trade exception. No, I don't think it works like that. No. I don't know. I don't know how him to the Pistons goes on. I don't know if it's a possibility anymore actually, but just because that he was actually going to go here at the trade deadline, I feel like this is something that could still be revisited, especially with how it seems like their relationship is totally broken. And Zach Lavine got to start playing NBA games soon again. He's too talented of a player to just be sitting down and not playing, you know. So if the Pistons are a team that's really wanting him, I would go for it if I'm Zach Lavine. I understand they were a bad team last year, but the Bulls aren't a good team either. And Kate Cunningham is going to be a guy who he really needs spacing, and the Pistons would really need you, you know. So you're going to be building a thing with Kate. Could have went there since last year, to be honest. So y'all could have built that connection already, but you didn't want to. And then you got Asar, who's a great defender. You got Ron, who's a great defender. Duran, who's a great defender. I don't see what I understand. The Pistons were a really bad team last year, but you got to remember they had Monty Williams, Zach. So Pistons, come on, man. Come on, man. Not the worst case scenario. If anything, they don't want you at this point. I'm gonna be honest, Lavine. If anything, the Pistons are less interested in you than you are in them. But at the same time, you broke up with them first. You know, you rather have gotten surgery than play with them. So at the end of the day, I guess you're the one who really didn't want to be with them. So the next team is the Lakers. There's a video of Zach Lavine like, hey, yeah, I would love to play with Bron and AD. He'd fit pretty well next to them too. The biggest problem with this team is if they were to trade Lavine, they'd have a glaring hole at point guard. But as of right now, they got a glaring hole at the D'Angelo Russell spot because he's not a guy who I mean, they probably gonna end up bringing him back, but this is a talent upgrade, you know. Rui Hachimura, he's been pretty inconsistent and unhealthy. He was nice when they made the Western Conference Finals. They love putting him on Nikola Jokic for some reason, but you know, Rui's nice. Rui's nice. D'Angelo Russell's nice, and then the Chicago Bulls could see what they have with Jalen Hood Schifino. The Lakers drafted him in the lottery and haven't even touched him yet. So just see what you got. And then since Lavine makes so much money, you're gonna attach a lottery protected first round pick. And the lottery protected first round pick is from the Blazers. So the protection most likely is gonna hit. And then whatever the picks become after that, y'all know how lottery protected picks work. If you didn't get the pick, it becomes like a couple seconds. So yeah, Zach Lavine and a couple second round picks for D'Lo, Rui, Jalen Hood Schifino. You know, the Bulls get to start up a new timeline. They get a nice player with Jalen Hood Schifino, and they see what they do with D'Lo and Rui. Maybe even send them to a third team. You know, let them play out. I don't know. I don't know what you do with these two guys, but Chicago Bulls, they trying to blow it up. And they don't even look like they want too much value for the guys they try to get off of. They just want minutes for young players because they team do got a lot of young talent that they need to figure out what they're gonna do with it. So hey, getting Zach Lavine off the team is one of them. Another team is the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz, if anything, they love sending a player away so they could replenish their value. We seen it right here with John Collins. John Collins last year, lowest of the low. His value's getting replenished. And then now they're gonna have a new project with Zach Lavine, and they also get a pick out of it. How valuable this pick is, I really wish I would have known what the consequences would have been if it doesn't convey this year, because that does change how valuable this pick is. But out of all of the Chicago Bulls picks that they currently have, this is the least valuable pick that they have. So if they were to attach a pick with Zach Lavine, pretty sure it would be your least valuable pick. And then in return, you get Walker Kessler, who the Jazz have been trying to, for some reason, shop. And hey, if you can get Walker Kessler for this Bulls team, you have a young player at every positional group that has a lot of upside with Walker Kessler, Jalen Smith at the center position. You have Iota Sumu. You have Kobe White at the guard positions. And then you have Josh Giddey and Matas Buzelis at the forward positions. So it'll be a nice team with a lot of young players, and they'll just be tanking for whoever's in the 2025 class. You know, the Cooper Flags, the Ace Baileys, you know. Hey, it'll be a cool thing for the Chicago Bulls. And they also have a core. Like, the core wouldn't be figured out, but besides Kobe White. But after that, you'll figure out who the other pieces are. You'll figure out if Matas is real, Giddy's real, Walker's real, maybe even John Collins. But Utah Jazz is a good fit. On the Jazz, he would come in and just he would come in and provide a lot of spacing for that team that needs it. I understand the Jazz aren't necessarily in a win now position, but they're developing young talent on that team. And for Keontae George to get better as a playmaker and stuff, you want to see him how he works with spacing. It's not necessarily like they're gonna become this playoff team with Zach Lavine. No, you're just a developing young team. You're adding a pick and you're setting assets away, and you're gonna in the future flip Zach Lavine again. Because if Zach Lavine is put in a position in Utah where he is the spacer that they need and he is the scorer that they need, the NBA will be reminded on how good Zach Lavine is. And Danny Ainge, hey, soon as the trade deadline hits, he go, hey boy, give me 2-3 first round picks for Lavine. Yeah, then when he got Lavine, he got a first for it. Hey, Danny Ainge, go this stuff out there, man. I could really see this one happening. Next team is the Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta Hawks, they trade off DeAndre Hunter, similar to a trade we did earlier. That was with Andrew Wiggins, where it's the same amount of length on the contract, but it's $20 million cheaper. It's a guy at a position you need more, and it's a guy that's younger who you're going to see if he got upside, So DeAndre Hunter to the Chicago Bulls, that would be a cool thing for them. And then Clint Capella on the expiring deal. You see what you do with that. You probably flip them again, honestly. But knowing the Bulls, they probably just keep them and then extend them. But what they should do if they get Clint Capella is they should use him as a guy who you flip and he was a salary filler. That's what you should do. But who cares what the Bulls do? As long as they get DeAndre Hunter and get Zach Lavine off the team. The last trade before we end off the video is Zach Lavine to the Charlotte Hornets. It's another team that it's just they are in a similar position as the Jazz, but more competitive. Their issue has been health. So if you could have a season where LaMelo, Zach Lavine, Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, and Mark Williams could stay healthy, because so far Brandon Miller and Bridges haven't had an issue of staying healthy. Bridges has had an issue with staying on the court, but health-wise, he's all right. B. Mill, the only one out of all these four in the starting lineup that is consistently playing games, and he's only in his rookie season. So it's like, I don't even want to be too confident in that. But if that Charlotte Hornets team stayed healthy and played games, they could be a playoff team, man, like an 8th, 7th seed. I would have that Hornets team as like a 8 to 11 seed, like that Hornets team would be a competitive team in the Eastern Conference, and that would be a nice thing for them. Before we end off the video, I want to talk about the Atlanta Hawks lineup, because this lineup would have Trae Young, Zach Lavine, Zachary Richardson, Jalen Johnson, and Onyeka Okongwu. That would be kind of like a modern lineup with the front court. They'd have a lot of versatility, a lot of guys who could switch, and size, but everywhere but the center position, which is funny. But in their backcourt, they would have an off-ball creator who could just sit and shoot next to Trae Young, and he doesn't need the ball in his hand necessarily as much as a DeJounte Murray. Yes, Zach Lavine will still have the ball in his hands at that point, but it wouldn't be to play make. It would be to score. And whenever he needs somebody to make plays, he'll just throw it back to Trae. So I think that would be a good fit. The Jazz, like I said, it'll be Keontae George, Zach Lavine, Lauri Markkanen. They give Taylor Hendricks some minutes, which is why they let John Collins go. And at the center position, I don't know why they're so interested in trading Walker Kessler. Hey, but they are, so they got something figured out, I'm pretty sure. Whatever that is, they'll do it. Next team we got, I want to go over is the Lakers. They'd have a glaring hole at point. Lavine, LeBron, and AD. That's basically the team. Lavine, LeBron, AD. See how far you go. The Bulls and the Pistons, we talked about that a little bit. And the Warriors, they'd have Curry, Lavine, Kuminga, Draymond, and Looney. I think out of all the landing spots for Lavine, this would be his best place for a championship, because I think the Warriors ceiling will be up to him in the playoffs. How much can he perform? Because Curry, that core has shown us that they could perform. It'd really be up to him and Kuminga. And Kuminga, he's going to bring it to us defensively. So, really, Lavine would have to show up. The second best landing spot for him, I have no idea. Maybe it's the Lakers, but, like, at the same time, he would be the scapegoat immediately. So, I don't know if he would want that. But these are the landing spots for Zach Lavine. Please, in the comments, let me know if y'all see anywhere else Zach Lavine will go. And out of these teams, which is your favorite landing spot for him? I really like the Golden State Warriors for Zach Lavine. I think that's the most realistic spot, because the Golden State Warriors right now, they're being gaslit by the The Clippers letting them think that they have a chance at Paul George. They're being gaslit by the Jazz. They think they have a chance at Lauri Markkanen. Hey, if they get Lauri Markkanen, go ahead and do that instead of Zach Lavine. I will agree with that. But I think the Warriors are currently getting played by a lot of teams just acting like they want to give up on their players. And the Warriors are going to fall for all of it. And then they might come back to Zach Lavine at the end of everything. But hopefully the Warriors figure out something. This is a video about Zach Lavine, but I really do hope he ends up on the Warriors. Yes, but thank you everybody for watching. If you're still watching, we 15 minutes in and you still listening. Like, can you please at least leave a like, man? Like, comment, subscribe. I'm 30 subscribers in. Every like matters. Every subscription matters. No, I don't even know how this works. Turn on notifications. Yeah. I'm trying to promote myself. That's enough of me begging on the internet for y'all to engage with me. But yeah, that'll be it for me. So everybody, thank you so much for watching and have a blessed day. God bless.